Hi folks, so I was watching this video by Etienne, link in the description, great channel, and as I was watching this I figured this could be a fun project, which led me to look up Bob Potts, the artist who made these sculptures, and I found this video. Looked at this video for a while and tried to figure it out. Was not easy, but eventually I think I got it to work in the CAD software. So this is the first model, and I kind of made it too thin and too long, too wide, so eventually I kind of remodeled it, but I did get all the joints to work, and that was my goal at this point, just to get everything to work in the CAD software. In the second version, when I first modeled the wings, they were very organic, so I decided that since I'm going to make this, I need to remodel the wings, and I did that so that I could use plywood flat material. And here you can see that new model with the redesigned wings and a more Art Deco look. So I figured I would start with the gear mechanism and the cam, because if I couldn't get that to work, then there was no point in continuing. After a little sanding, the parts came out okay, and I decided to do 2 of each because I was stacking these up to get 1/2 inch. I only had 1/4 inch aluminum to work with. The gears were cut out of Delrin, which was 3 millimeters thick, and those were stacked 3 high for a total of 9 millimeters. I eventually took the parts out of the CAD software into the CAM software, and then I was able to start cutting the wood parts. I wanted to test the size of the holes that I'd cut for the bushings and the shoulder bolts, just to make sure everything fit before I moved it off the CNC machine. That way I could recut if needed, but everything seemed to be okay. Once the parts were cut out from their tabs and given a little bit of sanding, they were ready to go. One of the trickiest parts was press fitting these parts together with a hammer, and since I didn't have a press, I had to make sure that all the parts were secured down with a lot of clamps to avoid vibration. I also triple checked everything, but still managed to put one of the arms in backwards. I was trying to figure out how to get this whole assembly concentric on the main turning shaft, and eventually it dawned on me that I could use the offcut of that large center gear as a jig, and that allowed me to get that right on the center of everything. Otherwise this would not have worked at all, and that approach seemed to do the job. Here I'm doing the first spin test, and the whole gear cam assembly seems to be working pretty well. I'm now working on the rear assembly where the handle is going to be, and here is the cam simulation. I'm using a pretty large ball nose to create the fillet on that first part that touches the stand. Here you can see the fixturing that kept everything in place and the final outcome. Cam parts to cut parts and then on to assembly. I created some spacing jigs to help me get the ribs in the right place on the spars. I then put a little bit of hot glue on the ribs to keep them in the right place before gluing the panels onto the top of them. But before finishing a wing, I wanted to do one more spin test as I had added quite a few more pieces to the main assembly. I decided to laser etch a feather pattern onto the panels, but before I did that I had to glue the panels onto some MDF with some hot glue because they were a little bit warped and I didn't want them to be out of focus, which would affect the thickness of the lines and it wouldn't look as good. Once the panels were laser etched, I could start gluing them onto the ribs.